Today, we're going to look at land use and development regulations, which is zoning and building codes. So you can read these quotes, they're pretty neat. All right. You're going to want to add some of these things to your notes. Again, don't screenshot them, but type them in unless you have to screenshot it. So first, land use planning is planning for long-term growth of an area. So we don't need to write that down. That's just kind of the general idea. But the purpose is to preserve public health, safety, and welfare, maintain compatible development within an area, meaning that you wouldn't want to have a hospital right next to a house, right next to a fire department, right next to another house, because they're just not compatible. The houses are going to start complaining about noise and things. Provide adequate air, light, access to and open space, and we have open space here in Colorado. You probably know how important that is. Protecting natural environment, these kind of things. So noting down some of these purposes would be a good idea to note an example of each of these 6 different purposes. Land use regulations are called ordinances, and they can regulate a variety of aspects. So the city of Lafayette has different ordinances. There might be an ordinance on the allowed use on the property, like you can't put a chicken coop. You can't raise chickens in your property in the city of Lafayette. Or it might say that you can, and there are places in Colorado that have ordinances that allow people to raise chickens. So that's an example of an ordinance. And here are some other examples, so you may want to note these down. But take a moment to pause this and actually type them in as different examples of ordinances. Zoning is the most common form of land use regulation. So zoning can be residential, commercial, industrial. You'd recognize those first 3 right off the bat if you ever played SimCity. Zoning maps designate permitted uses. So this is a zoning map. You're going to take a look at the zoning map for Lafayette. Here's another one. This is for Noblesville, Indiana. And down in here is kind of the key. Right here in this little kind of a cream colored, it says low density single family suburban residential. So anytime you see this light tan color, that's what that sort of is. This let's go to the lighter color here. It's low density single family residential. That is most of the city zone. So it's mostly for that light density single family, or low density single family. It's called residential. The other one's called suburban residential, probably because that's out here, out on the perimeter. So that's in the suburbs of Noblesville. So all of the different areas have different codes. And if you look towards the middle here, if you can figure out a way to zoom in, you're going to see that there are things like light residential, heavy residential, industrial, that are sort of here in the middle, and then they have general business, which is like commercial. So you're going to, again, see the one for Lafayette. And here shows a little bit more. Typically, they're going to have these. So for your notes for zoning, I would record that these are the 6 sort of common types that you would see: residential, commercial, industrial, conservational, scenic, and recreational. And you may say, instead of commercial, you may say /business, because that's what you're seeing here is business. When you take a look at the Lafayette one, you'll see what Lafayette uses. So there are codes and ordinances. You can find them online. If you search for Lafayette, now really important when you do your Lafayette zoning map search, because you're going to have to find it on Google, make sure that it's Lafayette, Colorado. I just searched for Lafayette zoning map, and it came up with the Colorado one, but that may be because my browser knows my history is always doing Lafayette, Colorado. So just keep that in mind. There's a Lafayette, Louisiana that is bigger than Colorado, and that might come up. So again, you can find them. They generally will adopt national building codes, and Lafayette's does adopt the International Building Code, IBC, and we're going to look at that in just a second.